What if an ancient evil was about to return and only three unlikely warriors stood between humanity and total destruction? Today, we're diving into the epic fantasy adventure Warrior Hunter, a story filled with brutal battles, ancient magic, betrayal, and sacrifice. Let's begin. The movie opens in a dark and war-torn kingdom where fear rules every corner of the land. Villages burn, innocent people are slaughtered, and a mysterious cult known as the Shadow spreads death wherever it goes. This organization doesn't simply seek power. They worship the legendary god of death, believing that one day he will return and rule the world. Their followers commit terrible crimes without mercy. Murder, arson, and the destruction of sacred temples have become common across the kingdom. To stop them, the powerful religious order sends its greatest warrior, Keltis. Known as the Wanderer, Keltis is feared throughout the land. Calm, disciplined, and deadly, he has spent years hunting the followers of the Shadow. His newest mission leads him deep into the northern forests, where a dangerous shadow dwarf is hiding. After tracking him through the wilderness, Keltis finally confronts him. The dwarf offers gold in exchange for his freedom, but Keltis refuses without hesitation. A brutal fight begins. Despite the dwarf's tricks and dark magic, Keltis proves why he is the Order's most feared hunter. Mortally wounded, the dwarf laughs instead of begging for mercy. Before dying, he reveals a terrifying secret. He tells Keltis that the Shadow has already begun preparing for the return of the god of death. A secret artifact known as the Bone Vessel will soon be delivered by a powerful orc raider named Coleman. Once the vessel reaches its destination, nothing will stop the coming darkness. The dwarf dies, leaving Keltis with more questions than answers. Knowing the threat is real, Keltis immediately reports everything to the prophetess, the spiritual leader of the order. She explains that ancient gods once fought a devastating war, and the god of death was imprisoned beneath the earth. Now the Shadow is searching for a way to break that prison forever. If they succeed, millions will die, and the dead themselves will rise again. The prophetess gives Keltis a single command. Find Coleman. Recover the bone vessel. Stop the ritual, no matter the cost.
Nemit proudly arrives at the nearest fortress with Fangtor Bloodmoon's severed head, expecting the reward she has earned. Instead, the soldiers notice the strange black mark spreading across her arm. The commander immediately recognizes it. It is the Mark of Shadow, a curse carried only by servants of darkness. Without listening to her explanation, they accuse Nemit of working for the Shadow. Her reward is taken away, and she is sentenced to death. Furious and betrayed, Nemit fights her way out of the fortress. Using her incredible speed and deadly archery skills, she escapes into the wilderness. Now, the Shadow wants her because of the curse, and the Order wants her dead because they no longer trust her. Completely alone, Nemit has nowhere left to run. Meanwhile, Keltis continues investigating the Shadow's plans. His search leads him to a captured cult member hidden inside a prison. The prisoner reveals another important clue. The bone vessel will soon be exchanged near an ancient place called the Bleeding Stone. It is there that the Shadow intends to collect sacred blood for a mysterious ritual. Realizing how dangerous the situation has become, Keltis heads toward the Bleeding Stone before it's too late. On the journey, fate brings Keltis and Nemit together. The meeting is anything but friendly. Keltis points his sword at the cursed elf. Nemit immediately prepares her bow. Neither of them trust the other. Keltis believes the curse may already be controlling her soul. There may still be time to stop it. Although she has no reason to trust him, Nemit realizes she has no better choice. Reluctantly, she agrees to travel with Keltis. Their destination is the mysterious Bleeding Stone. As they continue through the forest, they are suddenly ambushed by a group of shadow warriors. An intense battle erupts.
Keltis cuts through enemy after enemy with incredible swordsmanship, while Nemeth rains arrows from the trees. Together, they defeat the attackers. For the first time, they begin to respect each other's abilities. But their journey is far from over. Soon afterward, they discover an injured orc warrior tied up by shadow followers. His name is Coleman. Once a respected leader among the orcs, he was betrayed by his own people after the shadow corrupted the horde. At first, Nemeth wants nothing to do with an orc. She hates them because her family was killed during the ancient elf-orc wars. Coleman also despises elves, blaming them for the suffering of his people. The two nearly kill each other before Keltis steps between them. He reminds
Forests, Keltis, Nemeth, and Coleman finally arrive near the legendary Bleeding Stone, an ancient altar once used by dark warlocks to worship forgotten gods. The atmosphere is unsettling. Strange whispers echo through the valley, and the massive stone appears to bleed under the moonlight. According to the information they gathered, the shadow will soon collect the sacred blood from this altar before completing the final ritual. The three heroes hide nearby and wait. As midnight approaches, several shadow followers arrive, carrying strange containers. One cultist steps forward and collects the mysterious blood flowing from the stone. Keltis realizes the prophecy is true. The ritual has already begun. Before they can attack, shadow warriors suddenly surround them from every direction. A fierce battle erupts. Keltis fights through wave after wave of enemies with unmatched skill, while Nemeth's arrows strike every target with deadly precision. Coleman crashes into the battlefield like a raging beast, swinging his massive axe and sending enemies flying. Although they defeat the ambush, one important fact becomes clear. The sacred blood has already been taken. Their only remaining chance is to stop the exchange of the bone vessel. The three warriors immediately travel toward Garrett's Crossing, where the exchange will take place during the next new moon. On the journey, Coleman reveals another shocking truth. Years ago, the Shadow secretly infiltrated the Orc horde. Their leader, Mulgrath, betrayed his own people in exchange for immortality. Now the horde no longer fights for honor. They fight for the Shadow. Coleman swears he will challenge Mulgrath and reclaim his people's freedom. Meanwhile, Nemeth's curse continues spreading across her body. She begins hearing dark voices whispering inside her mind. The Shadow is trying to control her. Even Keltis starts wondering how much longer she can resist. Still, Nemeth refuses to surrender. She promises that if the curse ever completely consumes her, Keltis must kill her without hesitation. Finally, the heroes reach Garrett's Crossing. Hidden among the trees, they watch as the Shadow meets with Mulgrath's orc warriors. A mysterious priest arrives, carrying the legendary bone vessel. Inside the ancient relic are the sacred ashes needed to awaken the god of death. The exchange begins. Coleman quietly identifies several former comrades among the horde. The battle at Garrett's Crossing throws the entire shadow camp into chaos. While Keltis fights dozens of enemies, Nemeth escapes with the bone vessel. But before she can reach safety, the Shadow's high priest appears and blocks her path. Using dark magic, he forces the bone vessel back into his hands. The heroes have failed. The Shadow now possesses both the bone vessel and the sacred blood collected from the Bleeding Stone. Without wasting another second, the cult marches toward the Well of Demons, an ancient crater believed to be the prison of the god of death. Knowing this is their last chance, Keltis, Nemeth, and Coleman follow them. After a long journey, they finally reach the terrifying Well of Demons. The place is unlike anything they have ever seen. The sky is covered with black clouds. The ground shakes constantly. Dark energy pours from the giant crater, making it feel as though the gates of the underworld are already opening. Hundreds of shadow warriors gather around the altar. Dozens of innocent prisoners are brought forward as sacrifices.
The high priest raises the bone vessel into the air and begins chanting an ancient spell. As the ritual starts, the earth trembles violently. A terrifying voice echoes from beneath the ground. The god of death is awakening. Keltis quickly realizes that a direct attack would be suicide. Instead, he creates a desperate plan. Nemet will secretly enter the ceremony using the Mark of Shadow. Since the cult believes she belongs to them, she can get close enough to destroy the bone vessel. Meanwhile, Keltis and Coleman will attack from opposite sides, creating enough chaos for her to succeed. Nemet understands the danger. If the curse completely controls her before she destroys the vessel, she will become the Shadow's strongest servant. Still, she accepts the mission. Before leaving, she looks at Keltis and says, "If I lose myself, promise me you'll stop me." Keltis silently nods. The ritual reaches its final stage. The high priest pours the sacred blood into the bone vessel. The ashes inside begin glowing with dark energy. The sky suddenly turns black. Lightning crashes across the mountains. A massive portal slowly opens above the crater. Thousands of undead warriors begin climbing out of the darkness. The god of death is almost free. At that exact moment, Keltis charges into battle. Coleman lets out a deafening war cry and smashes through the orc army with his enormous axe. The battlefield instantly explodes into chaos. Human soldiers, orc warriors, shadow creatures, and undead monsters all collide in one massive war. With the bone vessel destroyed, the ritual begins to collapse. The massive portal above the Well of Demons becomes unstable as dark energy explodes across the battlefield. The furious high priest refuses to accept defeat. Using the remaining power of the ritual, he transforms into a terrifying champion of the god of death. His body is surrounded by black flames, and every fallen warrior around him rises again as an undead soldier. Keltis knows there is only one way to end this nightmare. He charges straight toward the high priest. A brutal duel begins. Sword clashes against dark magic as both warriors fight with everything they have. Every strike shakes the ground beneath them. Meanwhile, Coleman faces the corrupted orc warlord, Mulgrith. The two former leaders clash in an epic battle for the future of the Horde. Mulgrith mocks Coleman, claiming the shadow has made him immortal. But Coleman refuses to back down. After an exhausting fight, he finally lands a crushing blow, sending Mulgrith crashing to the ground. With one final swing of his axe, Coleman defeats the traitor once and for all. Seeing their leader fall, many of the remaining orcs abandon the shadow and stop fighting. At the same time, Nemet struggles against the curse still burning inside her body. Although the bone vessel has been destroyed, the mark of shadow continues trying to consume her soul. The dark voices tell her to kill Keltis, to surrender, to become one of them. But Nemet refuses. Instead of giving in, she fights against the curse with every ounce of strength she has left. Her courage weakens the shadow's control. Back on the battlefield, Keltis finally gains the upper hand. The high priest launches one last desperate attack, but Keltis blocks it and drives his sword through the priest's heart. The leader of the shadow falls. At that exact moment, the portal begins closing. The undead army collapses into dust. The black clouds disappear, and sunlight slowly breaks through the sky. The god of death has been stopped. The world is finally safe. After the battle, the three heroes stand together among the ruins. They have won, but the victory has come at a terrible cost. Nemet collapses from exhaustion. For a moment, everyone believes she has died. Then, slowly, she opens her eyes. The curse has finally been broken.